Good morning, everybody. Welcome to The Sweat. We got a lot of sports coming your way today. We're going to go DFS. We're going to go sportsbook plays. We're going to go NBA, NHL, NFL, breaking down the match as well. But first, hot stove season is heating up. I'm going to toss it over to Emerson Lotzi and Jared Carabas for the takeoff.
Yeah! Back at it again.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Where have you been?
On vacation.
Oh, what have you been doing?
Conspiracy theory documentaries.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard you talking to Samir about that in the hallway. I thought that was an interesting and a weird conversation.
That was a weird. We were talking about like the pyramids. Why were they built? How were they built? How they do that? What's going on inside the pyramids? I don't know.
Okay, so your off season has been adventurous for sure.
Yeah.
How about the winter meetings right now? Speaking of an adventure,
it's crazy.
Scorching hot. DeGrom is out in New York. He's in Texas, which I believe you called that on this show like a month ago. Did you not?
Yeah. I actually started saying that on the podcast in like September.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Damn, you're good. But why worry about losing your two-time Cy Young ace when you can replace him with a three-time winner, who's also a reigning World Series champion? So Verlander now calling the Big Apple home. Here. Which move do you like more?
Obviously Verlander to the Mets. It's a lot of money. I mean, it's $43 million a year over 3 years. Guy's 40 years old. But I mean, he's tried and tested and proven. So I don't know. Obviously, you look at a guy like Jacob DeGrom, his injury history, he hasn't been healthy for a full season since like 2019, which is a long time ago at this point. It's a lot of money. I referred to, the word I used was reckless. 5 years, $185 million for Jacob DeGrom, which, by the way, people forget, Jacob DeGrom is the same age as Clayton Kershaw, who everyone's like, yeah, maybe he's going to retire this year. He's kind of old, right? The same age, Jacob DeGrom just got a 5-year deal for $185 million.
God damn, dude. Verlander and Scherzer are also reunited, right? Having those two back-to-back, that 1-2 punch like over a weekend series just feels kind of unfair.
Yeah, which kind of like makes you like remember how did the Detroit Tigers not win a World Series?
Yeah, but they were together for what, 5 seasons?
Yeah, it was like Scherzer, Verlander, they had David Price, Anibal Sanchez, I think won an ERA title somewhere in there. You had Miguel Cabrera and Prince Fielder going back-to-back. It was crazy. Like, those were some really good Detroit Tigers teams.
What grade are you giving the Trey Turner deal in Philly?
I mean, that's
B-A.
that's like I want more towards a B.
Okay.
So apparently the San Diego Padres offered more than the Philadelphia Phillies did. The 11 years, so I like the fact that for being able to continue to build a team around guys like Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, those guys. The average annual value is like $27.5 million. So that allows them to sort of go out here and spend money in different areas. But the 11 years, I mean, when you're talking about a speed guy, what type of player are we talking about if and when the speed starts to go? Okay. So that's why, you know, I like it for them right now. I don't know how well it ages. I don't necessarily want to doubt a guy like Trey Turner. I think he's going to be a really good player for a long time, but 11 years is a long time. Like, what was Emerson doing 11 years ago?
11 years ago, where was I? I was working in, I think, upstate New York or Salt Lake City at that time.
Just a different guy, right?
I was a different dude.
Completely different guy.
I was younger. I had, a little more energy for sure, and maybe a little more meat on the bone, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, 11 years. A lot can happen to the human body in 11 years.
That's right. So, like, he and Harper, it's a reunion there. I mean, Kyle from Waltham also there, former teammates. But, damn, man, he and Harper are going to be, what, 40-ish?
Yeah.
Like, towards the end of, like, this
Pretty
deal,
much.
they're going to be making, like, 28 mil a season
40 years old, yeah.
Which team wins a World Series first? Verlander here with the Mets and Scherzer, or Turner and Harper there in Philly?
I'm gonna say the Phillies. I think the Mets are a better team right this second. I don't think the gap is as big as some people might think. But when you're talking about like a Steve Cohen on one side, he has unlimited money, and then you have a guy like Dave Dombrowski who, I mean, he's not the guy that's writing the checks, but he also is just not afraid to spend someone else's money in a very aggressive manner. I'd like to think that because Dave Dombrowski, the Steve Cohen regime is still somewhat unproven, whereas the Dave Dombrowski blueprint, we've seen it work. We've seen it fail, but we've also seen it get close. I think the postseason has mostly become just like a crapshoot. Just get in.
We saw that a lot this past season.
We sure did. Yeah, just get in and see what happens. Yep. I think that the Philadelphia Phillies will have more get in and see what happens opportunities over the life of the Bryce Harper deal.
I mean, Phillies 2023 plus 1,300 to win the World Series, and then you got the Mets there at plus 950 on the DK Sportsbook. So the days of the Yankees really having New York City to themselves, it's over. Whether they sign Aaron Judge really or not. So where does he end up? Come on, man.
I tweeted this yesterday, and I would love to hear your reaction to this as well. Don't you think that it's odd that the Yankees made an offer to Aaron Judge to make him the highest paid player in Major League Baseball, and he had to think about it?
I do find that quite weird because I feel like at this point, this stage of the game in his career, like you got to earn, you have to ink that big fat deal when you get an opportunity for it, right?
There's that.
So are you saying that means he just does not want to be in New York?
It sounds like he's waiting for the Giants to make their offer, which we can assume they probably haven't yet. The Giants probably want to know what's the Yankees offer. We can come in north of that. You also have to factor in taxes, all that.
Dude,
So,
I would not live in San Francisco.
No,
Hell
no.
By the way, he was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year this morning.
Aaron Judge?
Yep.
My friend Aaron.
Your friend Aaron, your best friend Aaron.
I'm gonna have to.
So he's going to start incorporating that into his negotiations now. I'm
For sure, yeah.
After meetings.
You have to. I
My
mean,
face is on a magazine cover.
I'm the guy. Like, he is the guy right now. But I think he's playing it smart. You have this offer in hand from the New York Yankees, and you're letting them know, I don't need you. You need me.
Dude, this is hardball?
Yeah. If the New York Yankees, if Derek Jeter was in this position, he would have signed already. It's like, oh, of course, I'm Mr. Yankee. Of course, you're going to make me the highest paid player in Major League Baseball? Yeah, I'm taking that deal. I'm not even listening to offers from anyone else. I don't want to be tempted by anyone else. Aaron Judge is a businessman.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he's not loyal. Doesn't mean that he's a turncoat. He's a businessman. He's out to get the best deal possible, the best fit for him. The fact that the San Francisco Giants are the other team, it's not like if it was the Toronto Blue Jays, then we'd be like, all right, like, does this guy care about, all he cares about is money? There's other factors here. There's family, there's comfort, there's just geographical preference.
So just make the call right now. Is he a Yankee or is he a Giant?
Well, this kind of ties into my hot take.
Okay, well, we're not going to go there just yet.
All right, so then we'll say it.
Okay, all right, so that's a tease, and we'll get to his hot take here in like 3 minutes. He's probably also pissed that Cashman's around for another 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the Red Sox. How confident are you the Red Sox are able to work something out here with Xander Bogaerts, man? You seem emotional on Twitter. All of Red Sox Nation very emotional right now, and rightfully so.
Not confident.
Yeah, it's not looking good, man, according to reports coming out of Winter.
It's not even like the reports, because, I mean, a lot of those nerds don't really know what they're talking about.
Okay.
It's from stuff that I'm hearing from the dark web back channels, stuff that, is making its way back to me.
I want to be part of that.
Yeah. It doesn't sound good right now. Oh man, when the report came out that the Red Sox offer wasn't competitive enough.
That's sad, dude.
That's when I was told, well, that the Red Sox offer is the only offer that he has. So how does anyone know if that's competitive to what? Compared to what?
But now that Trey Turner has gone down and he is done, I mean, I feel like some of these other shortstops on the market are smiling right now. They're waiting. That market has been set, right?
In a way, yeah, I think it's been set, but I think also Turner probably had some preferences that he probably could have gotten more average annual value to. Like, he wanted the years. Like, he made it very clear, like, I want years.
Because I think Xander is the only shortstop who's older than Turner, like, of all the big names, like,
barely
still available. Yeah, barely. Yeah. Why is Boston so reluctant to, like, financially reward players who have earned it, who deserve it, dude? What's going on right now?
Especially the homegrown ones.
Yes, dude.
Like, it's crazy.
This is going to be like another Lester or Mookie, and I know they were traded like before the end, instead of just like walking away. But this feels just like that.
Yeah, and I had the tweet the other day about how
that was a good tweet.
Yeah, you can't pay Story and not pay Xander. You can't make David Ortiz go year to year with his contracts and then be like, all right, here's 5 years for Pablo, here's 4 years for Hanley, the unsatisfactory return for Mookie Betts. And then you can't be like, hey, John Lester, how's 4 years, $70 million sound for a guy that's going to sign for almost $200 million, and then give David Price $217 million. Like, it's just, and David Ortiz talked about this all the time when he was active as a player. He was like, there are guys in here, not everyone can perform well in Boston. Like, that's just a fact. I don't care how talented you are, how many MVPs you've won, how many All-Star games you've been to. Not every player, regardless of your level of talent, can perform in Boston. So you'd have these players come into Boston, perform well, some of them win championships, and then the Red Sox be like, how's, 1/4 of your value sound? And then when it comes time to like, hey, we've missed the playoffs a couple of years here, fans are getting really disgruntled. Let's give hundreds of millions of dollars to someone else that is totally unproven in this market. And it makes no sense. And so people are obviously coming for Chaim Bloom in this situation. They're going to look at Chaim and be like, this guy traded Mookie. Why aren't you paying Devers? You're not paying Xander. What's the one common denominator throughout the John Lester thing, the Mookie Betts thing, the David Ortiz thing? It's ownership.
Yeah.
It's not Chaim Bloom. It's the owners. And Chaim actually said that the other day where he was like, listen, I'd love to pay these guys, and I'm paraphrasing, but, that comes from upstairs. And he's right. And when you're talking about paying a guy like Xander Bogaerts $200 million, Rafael Devers $300 million, those are ownership calls. And what doesn't sit right with me is that in September, we kept hearing about John Henry, Tom Warner, the Red Sox owners sat down and met with Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers and said, we're going to make you a priority. We're letting you know. I don't think numbers were exchanged, but it was a matter of we're letting you know that you are our top priority and we're going to do everything we can to pay you. The only person that's stopping that from happening is them. It's not Xander haggling, being like, oh, no. It's like if you just put a fair market value offer in front of both of those guys, they're signed already.
Yep.
So that's what bothers me the most is that Chaim is getting all the heat for something that is an ownership call, and ownership is telling us that Xander and Devers are a priority. If they were a priority, they would have been signed by now.
Yep. I can see why all of Red Sox Nation is skeptical with the direction that their team is heading. And by the way, John Lester currently recruiting Xander Bogaerts to Chicago. So a little nerve-wracking there.
That's where I think he's going to go.
Okay. Yeah, well, it seems like his market is down to either the Sox, the Cubs, or the Dodgers. But we'll see. Time for your hot take. You just teased it minutes ago.
Yeah.
Hook us up with your hot take. Something to keep us warm, moist, and fuzzy during these winter months.
Yeah, so there's I don't even know if it's like hot. It could be just something where like you touch it and you're like, ah. Like it's not like it's
a little sizzle.
Yeah, there's a little sizzle to it.
Sizzle.
Yeah.
Sizzle
Yeah,
spicy.
there's a little sizzle to this take. And Billy, come here for a second.
Billy, bring it on in. Help him out.
This is something where I've just been thinking about this for a little bit because obviously, I'm a big Aaron Judge guy. I want what's best for Aaron Judge. I want what's best for Aaron Judge, first and foremost. Actually, that's not first and foremost. First and foremost, I want what's best for me, okay? And what's best for me, I want Aaron Judge to stay with the Yankees. I want Aaron Judge to stay with the Yankees, and here's why. Reason number one, as his friend, you want him to be in a market where he can market himself and be a big brand. I think that happens with the Yankees. But for me, on the greedy side of things, reason number two, if the Yankees lose out on Aaron Judge, what type of crazy stuff are they going to do? Are they going to go after Xander Bogaerts? We don't need that in our lives, okay?
Yeah, they could sneak in.
I can live with Xander Bogaerts. I'll be upset, but I can live with Xander Bogaerts signing with the Cubs. If he goes to the Yankees, what am I going to do? I can't have that.
Man. He's
I can't have that.
Multiple times.
I can't have that.
Pinstripes.
I can't have that. So I don't want the Yankees to go nuts, and there's a couple different avenues that they could go there too. Shohei Ohtani, free agent after next year.
Yeah.
Juan Soto, got a couple of years until free agency. As much as Aaron, I love you. We're very close. We tell each other everything, so I'm being honest with you right now. that contract's not going to age well. It's just not. It's not. You don't want to be paying a guy that's 6'7", into his late 30s, early 40s. It's just not going to age well, and it's going to prevent them from being able to go out and do the things that they want to do. So, for a multitude of reasons, number one being I care about Aaron, and I want him to build his legacy in New York.
No, we're picking up.
I want him to succeed and thrive. I also want things for me.
So Aaron Judge, you're hoping stays with the Yankees.
I hope he stays with the Yankees. Yeah.
All right. We got to go. Tom Brady was trying to get him to play tight end for the Bucs last night.
Yeah, I saw that. He could be a Tampa Bay Ray.
Wow. That would be. No, he's not. All right, thanks, dude. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah,
Appreciate
call me.
it.
Call me later.
Yeah, I know. We got the Christmas
We gotta
party
talk.
at your new house coming up in
Yeah.
2 weeks. I'm organizing.
Everyone's invited.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, only 3 games on the NBA slate tonight. But Anthony Davis, good grief. He's the size of like Aaron Judge. He's just been lighting it up for the Lakers, putting LA on his back like Jan Sport. Scoreboards have been destroyed with this dude on the floor recently. Can they do it again against Cleveland? Yeah. Our NBA panel will weigh in next.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Sweat. It is time for our NBA segment. So we got DraftKings contributors Gary and Thorne and Julian Edlow virtually here, and we have Nick Fryer in studio, as you can see.
Handsome with the new haircut.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, guys. Anthony Davis.
You're gonna get all red.
Yeah.
Don't get out of
No,
here.
give that
No,
on
no,
there.
no.
Zoom
I am
in.
not Carabas. I don't want the
Yeah.
camera right on my face
The
like
hair
that.
looks great. The hair looks great. You know who else looks great? Anthony Davis.
Oh, I
All right.
thought
He's been lights out his last 2 games. 99 points, like 27 rebounds, 6 blocks. I mean, just on fire, okay? So his odds for NBA MVP are sitting at plus 2,500. Is that something that you would consider right now, Nick?
You're serious with
Yeah,
this
I'm
question?
dead
Okay.
serious.
Did you write this question or did
if
he
he
write this
No!
question?
No, the
keeps playing
producer
like
wrote the
this.
question.
Okay, good. All right, because no.
No.
Because how many times have we seen a guy win the MVP and a team didn't make the postseason? Once. And
Okay.
It was Kareem, and that was it. And where are they? What are they at? 10 and 12 right now?
I'm
In the
just
Western
saying,
Conference?
you're telling me there's a chance, though.
No, it's not. There's no
just
chance.
said it
They're
has
minus
happened once.
185 to not make the playoffs right now in DraftKings Sportsbook. That value's gone. That value's not going to get any better. So no, I don't know how Julian and Gary are going to feel this, but absolutely not.
Gary, do you feel as strongly
Yeah.
with the absolutely not?
No, not really.
Come on.
Nice.
Look, I think anytime you're talking about a Lakers player, you kind of have to think about this a little bit. I mean, this is such a narrative-based award, and just because Anthony Davis is Anthony Davis and he plays for the Lakers, who get constantly discussed on national television, we all know the narrative. I mean, yes, they are 10 and 12 for the season, they started 2-10, and if they keep playing as well as they've been playing lately, and they do make the playoffs, I mean, I don't think they're going to have the best record in the West or anything, but they've been playing really well lately. And that sort of massive turnaround is a very easy start to an MVP narrative for someone who right now, by all the advanced stats, is playing exceedingly well. I mean, again, the problem with basketball, or maybe it's not even a problem, because there are flaws with WAR for baseball, but there really isn't like the one catch-all stat we've all decided is the main catch-all stat for basketball. But like 538 does their Raptor rankings. Anthony Davis is second right now in total Raptor. He's first in PER, which is a stat that we cared about 10 years ago, but probably don't care about anymore. Like, I don't know. He's a Laker. He's really good. He's 20-1. I think this is probably Jason Tatum's award to lose. But at the same time, 20-1 is never a bad bet for a Laker who's this notable.
All right, Julian, he's at plus 2,000 now. Odds getting shorter here. Emerson said people are obviously watching the show. That's what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis ranks second in Raptor, so we might as well give it out. What's Jason Tatum's rank in Pterodactyl? I don't care about I love basketball, but basketball doesn't have the WAR stat. I don't want WAR. I want to eyeball.
It's got like
my
12
MVP.
of them, just so you know. It's got more of them than baseball does.
Yeah, but I don't look at those because they don't matter. I mostly agree with Nick here. Now, the Lakers could make a playoff push. The Western Conference is not that good, and the way that they've been playing lately, like the Lakers are playing like a playoff team right now. The problem is you have to, number one, you have to overtake LeBron on your own team, which, yes, Anthony Davis is playing better right now, but he has to do that for the whole season. So forget, like, Nick's playoff argument. Is Anthony Davis going to keep doing this for the whole season? This is the Anthony Davis that we've always, like, hoped to see, and we know the ceiling that he has. He's not going to keep doing it for a whole season. He's going to get nicked up. He's going to pull a hamstring, and even if he plays through it, after missing some time, he's not going to be as good as he is now. So Anthony Davis absolutely has to prove it to me before we're giving him any awards. I just think if there's a team, if there's like a middling Western Conference team that's on the fringe of the playoffs and they give it to a guy, you give it to Luka Doncic for what he's doing in carrying that entire Mavericks team. But also, you know, out east, like I think if there's one of those three guys at the top of the board, I think that it's going to be more difficult for Giannis to win. I just think that the narrative with Tatum and the Celtics, the way that they're clicking right now, if they keep going the way they're going, you have the best player on the best team narrative, and Tatum poses a huge threat. I just think there's too many guys that play in too many games above Davis on the board to go that way.
Nick, you were over here violently nodding your head in agreement with Julian.
Because he's making great points. I mean, what's to say he's not going to get hurt too in the course of the season? I mean,
It's true, and he's got a track record of that.
I've been saying it for a while that he is the most overrated superstar in the game. So
Okay,
I'm going to die on that hill.
All right, let's get a bet from this game then tonight, though, Nick. Lake Show has won 3 straight games, 8 of their last 10. They are showing drastic improvement here, yet they're 5-point dogs tonight in Cleveland. What's your favorite bet in this game?
Well, I do like the Cavs to cover, but my favorite bet in this one, anytime Evan Mobley's blocks prop is at plus money, I'm always going to back that. It's at plus 120 tonight. Only 5 teams have had their shots blocked more than the Lakers this season, and Mobley has 2+ blocks in 3 of his last 4 games. So this is an easy one for me.
All right, Jules, this an easy one for you, picking a bet in this game?
It's not an easy one, but I do like the way the Lakers were playing. I'll disagree with Nick and say if I was betting a side in this game, I'm probably going Lakers. I don't know if I'll wind up betting it or not. You also have LeBron back in Cleveland narrative, and I'll go there. I like LeBron over 26.5 points in this game. We're talking a lot about Anthony Davis. Let's not forget about LeBron, who averages just shy of 30 against the Cavs in his career. And I think that it's a better matchup for him. Anthony Davis, as we're just talking about Mobley and the size that Cleveland has, I think it's a better matchup for LeBron to get his and go over 26.5 points.
Gare Bear, is this a spot to maybe look at the total? Under is cashed 5 in a row for Cleveland, going 8-1 across their last 9.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really sort of interesting styles make fights kind of narrative tonight. You've got Cleveland, who, as you mentioned, Emerson, across their last 5 games, 5-0 to the under. In that span of time, they are not only dead last in the NBA in pace by a significant margin, but they have the best defensive rating in the NBA by a significant margin. That's a pretty obvious sort of combination of factors that goes together as to why they would be hitting the under as often as they are. But conversely, the Lakers have the best offensive rating in basketball across the last 5 games, and they are running up and down the court like few teams are. I would still lean towards the under. I just think this is a pretty big number considering how good defensively Cleveland is. And it seems like they're going to get Jared Allen back tonight. He's going through shoot around right now. He's questionable. That only improves Cleveland's defensive outlook. So I do think this could be a lower scoring game than maybe some people are projecting.
All right, on to the next one. The Heat hosting a Pistons team that has just 2 wins on the road. Which bet makes the most sense here? Julian, the Heat have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 7 home games on the second leg of a back-to-back. 8.5-point spread here.
Yeah, this is a weird spot. The Heat haven't been that good overall lately, but they got Jimmy Butler back, won that big game in Boston in overtime in the game that he did, and Detroit has been, like, dreadful on the road, cannot win away from home. So I do think Miami wins the game. The number is just right. It's a big number for a team that doesn't cover at home and a team that doesn't win on the road. I'm not backing it. I don't think there's much to this game. I do want to see, like you mentioned, the back-to-back. I want to see the injury report, and then maybe we can find something in the player prop section for a best bet, but I can't even go there now until we see who's in, who's out. So we got a much better game out west. I'll save my thoughts for that one.
All right, Garion, do you feel the same way? You kind of want to look in the props department?
I mean, that Heat injury report can get crazy. So this is definitely one I wouldn't bet right now. Like, there could be 10 guys listed by 2 o'clock that are questionable for the Heat. That's just kind of how they roll this season. In general, I would just say this number is probably too big, sort of echoing what Julian was kind of saying. Like, Detroit's been bad on the road. That's undeniable. They have covered their last 4 road games, though. They're 4-0 ATS. The Heat, on the other side of that, 3-11-1 ATS, their last 15 home games. I just don't think the Heat are that good. And while I don't think the Pistons are good either, again, I think we get a very muddy Heat injury report sometime soon. That probably lowers this number. So if you are going to be someone who's just like, the Heat don't deserve to be favored by this many points, I'd probably bet this now.
Yeah, Nick, actually, none of the Heat's last 4 wins have been by more than 8 points.
Yeah, I mean, and Garion's going to be the one that's dealing with the Heat injury report a little bit later on, too. That's why he's so aware of it, because those things are a mess. We're going to deal with those over on DK Live. But yeah, I'm with the Pistons right now in this one, and I feel comfortable enough that injury report's going to be nasty that I'll take this number at plus 8.5. And look, everybody's kind of broken down the splits already on all this. I would say too, if you're looking at the total, I think the under is the way to go in this one. I'm just looking at the various splits here, second leg of back-to-back for Miami, rest advantage for Detroit. Everything on that end is pointing towards the under hitting in this one.
All right, Nick, quick on this last one, guys. Mavs and Nuggets going head-to-head. Doncic, Jokic. Where is a good area to focus your best bet in this one?
I just like the Nuggets covering this one, keeping it simple. I know the Nuggets stole one last time when they saw the Mavs in that back-to-back that they had, and no Jokic, no Murray in that one. The Mavs are a great home team, and those games were at home, where they're 10-3, but they're 2-8 on the road. And then you look at the spread too, when the Mavs are on no rest, 0-3-1 against the spread.
I mean, hell, they're 1-6 ATS in their last 7 road games, Garion.
Yeah, these are 2 really good home teams, and only one of them gets to play at home tonight. And that's actually one of the reasons the Nuggets have been so kind of underwhelming overall. They've only got to play 8 games in Denver so far this season. That's the lowest number of home games of any team in the NBA. And they have the best net rating in the Western Conference when they're playing at home. Dallas, on the other side of this, 0-6 ATS their last 6 road games against a winning team. They just haven't looked great recently, and they specifically haven't looked great away from home against good clubs. So I think the Nuggets here, with this line already moving up to 5, it was 4.5 like 20 minutes ago. I'll still take it at 5.
Jules, quickly, your best bet.
We're in agreement, and I'm going to go Denver first half, actually. We have Dallas coming off a big win last night against Phoenix, and now Luka tends to slow down on the back-to-back. Dallas, 2-7-1 first half against the spread on the road this season.
All right, thank you, NBA dudes. Appreciate it. As always, we are turning our attention to tonight's hockey slate after this quick break. The Sweat will be right back.
All right, welcome back to the Sweat, everybody. 9 games on tonight's NHL slate. So let's bring in Pete, Paul, and AJ to help all of you watching right now build a money-making lineup. Where are we going to start, Cofield?
All right, let's start with the best center to add to your lineups. AJ, looking at the slate, where are you going?
I'm going to go slightly further down the line here, and I'm going to target Evgeny Malkin at 5,900. Yes, he's stuck in a 6-game goal drought, but he's put 18 shots on net over that stretch. So he's still shooting the puck plenty. He's got 4 helpers in his last 2 games. The Penguins' second line has been struggling for a little bit there, but in their last 2 contests, they've shaken off some of the rust here. Both Zucker and Brian Rust have found the back of the net. This matchup with the woeful Blue Jackets is the perfect time for Malkin to get his scoring going again as well.
Paul, I know you want to pay all the way up for Austin Matthews here. Come on.
No, I'm not going to do it. That's going to be a tight checking game. I'm looking for mismatches on the board, Jesse, and I find 2 of them that I'm going to focus on in the center segment. One of them is, again, the Devils facing the struggling Blackhawks. The Devils are on the other end of the spectrum, red hot from the beginning of the season, in fact. I like Jack Hughes in this spot for the home side, priced at $7,600. He's collected 8 points in his last 5 games and averaging 4 shots on goal in that stretch. So big points for him tonight. And another guy that I like is Braden Point of the Bolts. They're 8-2 in their last 10, while the Wings are starting to slip a little bit, mostly due to a rash of injuries. And I like Braden Point here. He's lined up on the top line, and that's alongside the offensive catalyst here in Nikita Kucherov. Point is right at a point per game on the season to date, and I expect a lot of favorable shift starts owing to that depleted Detroit lineup tonight for him.
All right, Pete, who are you targeting at center here?
I'll go with Brock Nelson for the New York Islanders. He's facing the St. Louis Blues, second of a back-to-back, really leaky defense this season for St. Louis. Nelson had a multi-point game against them earlier in the season, goal and an assist, and 3 shots on goal in that game. And yeah, I just like the way the Islanders offense is really better than ever after the coaching change, Lane Lambert. They're rolling 3 strong lines, and Brock Nelson just carrying over his breakout goal season from last year. So, yeah, I'll roll with Brock in this favorable matchup.
Paul, take us to the Wings and Things department, babe. How much money are you going to spend here?
I'm going to go with AJ on this one, probably. He's going to get Jake Guentzel in the lineup. I like that pick against the depleted Columbus lineup too. That's a big mismatch. The defensive issues on Columbus side should make for a points night for the Pens forwards. So Gentzel's their biggest shooter in my opinion. He's got 6 points in his last 4 games played, costing $7,400. Must start for me. Then another team that I like in another mismatch situation, Carolina heating up again. They're on a 4-game win streak while Anaheim's on a 6-game winless slide. I'm seeing quite a few matchups with teams headed in opposite directions, in fact, on tonight's slate. But this one prompts me to take Andrei Svechnikov of the Canes for $6,500. He's among the league's top snipers and at a point per game pace year to date while averaging better than 3 shots on goal. Don't forget the Ducks have the league's worst goals against average.
All right, AJ, did Paul get it right?
I'm actually, I mean, far be it from me to disagree with using Jake Guentzel here, but I would actually consider, if you're going to go Malkin, grab Rust and Zucker, who come in at 4,600 and 4,300 respectively. But actually, my favorite winger on the slate tonight is Kevin Fiala for the Kings, comes in at 6,300. A little more expensive, but still well off the top of the board. You're getting a good matchup with the Senators here, and he's had 3 multi-point games in his last 6 outings.
All right, Pete. Who's your wing tonight, dude?
Got to be Mitch Marner. I mean, it's crazy. They said there's never been 2 guys with 18-plus game point streaks in the same game ever. So 19 for Marner, 18 for Jason Robertson. They go head-to-head here. That's Prop City if I ever saw it. So, yeah, anyway, Mitch Marner, 5 straight games with a goal. I'll roll with him. And I also think Cole Perfetti is worth tapping into. Red-hot rookie. He's all the way up to 3rd among rookies in scoring. So keep an eye on him, upcharging. And I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day, Cole Perfetti was a guy that we're talking about in the Calder Trophy race, playing on a line with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler.
All right, is there a defenseman on the board that could put your lineup over the top here? AJ, looking at Jeff Petrie here, since he's been elevated in the lineup, 2 assists, 4 shots, 5 blocked shots, doing pretty well.
Read my mind here, Jesse. Chris Letang out of the lineup, so it's going to be Petrie at 5,100, who's playing on that number 1 power play unit. Admittedly, the Penguins power play has not been that great this year, but you're getting a guy for under 5K who's going to be on the ice with some of the best players in the NHL. And then, of course, as we've mentioned all show, you're getting that awesome matchup going up against Columbus.
All right, Pete, who do you like?
I like Thomas Chabot. I think the Ottawa Senators are really starting to get rolling here as a team I liked a lot in the preseason. I know a lot of others did too, and was disappointed by early on, but their underlying metrics are strong, top 10 in the NHL in shot attempts percentage for possession-wise. And Chabot, since coming back from injury, 6 points in 5 games with 2 on the power play. Not many people realize Ottawa's power play is top 10 in the NHL with Batherson and Stützle and all these guys, Brady Tkachuk. I mean, they're loaded. DeBrincat, second unit, Claude Giroux. I like the spot for Thomas Chabot, quarterback in that power play unit.
All right, Paul, take us home. Who do you like on the blue line?
Well, I love the call on Thomas Chabot. You're looking at a guy for $5,300. You're getting a guy who's third in the league in ice time per game. He gets all the high leverage minutes for Ottawa. Their offense is in gear right now, and he's facing an LA club that's been very loose defensively of late. That's a bad combination for LA fans tonight, as their team's given up 26 goals in their last 6 games. But you know what? I'm smiling big time today because I woke up this morning seeing that when I went to bed, Montreal was winning 4-0 last night. They wound up losing that game in Vancouver. Tonight, they're on the second of back-to-backs, and I think Seattle's going to pick them apart. And that means that Vince Dunn is a sneaky good play for me on the blue line for the Kraken, running their power play. And he's on a hot streak with 6 points in his last 6 games played, costing $4,500 tonight.
You also woke up and decided to rock the Canadian tuxedo, which
Love
we
it.
fully love and respect here
fashion
at
statement.
DraftKings. Guys, that's all the time we have for today. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you later this week. So we're done with hockey. We're going to turn our attention to the NFL because Justin Jefferson is the only dude on the Week 14 slate who's going to cost you more than $9,000. The Vikings set to face division rival in Detroit. Where's the best place to spend your money this weekend? We'll talk to our analysts coming up next.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Sweat. It is time to talk football, all right? Let's bring in DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, and Steve Buchanan. So we're going to do NFL price check
Steve.
for Week 14. We're going to do that. But before we price check, we got to get your reaction from that Saints-Bucks game. Obviously, just craziness. My question is, do you see that as like an amazing Bucks comeback, or do you see that as a Saints collapse, Steve?
I mean, it has to be a Bucks comeback, right? I mean, obviously, camera on me, not on Pierce. I'm talking. I mean, it's got to be what Brady's still able to do, even with an offense that looked inept almost the entire game instead of really the last 3-4 minutes of that fourth quarter. But the other thing that really comes to me is like, when are we done with this Andy Dalton experiment? Jameis Winston seemingly healthy on the bench there. Really all Dalton had to do to prevent another historic comeback from Brady was just to get those first downs, keep this team on the field. That drive that they ended up punting on that allowed Brady to drive for the win there lasted about 37 seconds for the Saints. Absolutely nothing getting done for that offense. Get rid of Dalton, but thank you for giving us another Brady moment, even at his tender age of, what is he, 44 at this point? I don't even know.
Yeah.
69.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah.
nice.
Not quite.
Hey.
Pierce, what's your biggest takeaway from that one?
Camera on me.
Yeah.
That was a key word that Steve brought up. Prevent defense doesn't work. I don't know why teams still use this. 56 minutes of that game, the Saints were in complete control. Tampa couldn't move the ball. And so they decide, hey, the last 4 minutes, let's just go with a completely different game plan and allow Tom Brady to nickel and dime us 2 drives in a row. It's unbelievable what they did. That's a Saints collapse.
Jeff, what do we think? Bucks comeback or Saints collapse?
Yeah, key word for me is like, who cares? You beat the Saints by 1 at home. The Saints team led by Andy Dalton. It's great. It's nice. Everyone wants to say, Tom Brady's the GOAT still. It's Tampa team, man. Like, what? Wow. I mean, what a terrible game. We predicted, before we were talking about this game, and we just said that the under is probably the play. We're going to get an ugly game, and that's exactly what we got. It's a cool story. The Saints absolutely blew it. Pierce is right. It's a good story. Like, Brady deserves credit for getting the win against the prevent defense. But I mean, like, the Bucks can't be happy with this. They put up 17 points and needed like a semi-miracle at the end to get a win. It's kind of just a microcosm of their season right now. Everything is difficult for the Bucks. I still think they're a dangerous team in the playoffs. They're not the team I would want to play the first round, but is this team going to make a long run? No, absolutely not.
Oh, my God. Yeah, Steve, we cared, didn't we? Rashad White, that was a beautiful touchdown at the end. Let's price check. Let's price check at quarterback. Tom Brady, Pierce, $5,600 at San Francisco. Where are you going to spend your money?
No way. No way. Tom Brady is going through a couple things, if anyone's noticed, and it just keeps getting worse. I don't know, there's like this FTX thing. I don't know if anyone notices that. Might be on his mind a little bit. I'll take Tyler Huntley, 5,500, rushing quarterback upside. He's not just a rushing quarterback either. He completed 27 of his 32 passes last week. We saw him play 5-6 games last season, more than competent. We know that Baltimore lacks a lot of weapons, and that hurts. At least that hurts Lamar Jackson. They didn't have any weapons last season, and Huntley seemed to be fine. I think it actually helps Huntley, puts more pressure on him to run the ball, make things work. He'll lean on Mark Andrews, who I think you should pair him with. I just think it's too cheap of a price for a rushing quarterback that's going to get a ton of work, especially since Baltimore's defense is bad, and that could also push them into a passing script.
Jeff, what's your move at quarterback this week, dude?
You guys seen this wisdom tooth video that's going around about Joe Burrow? You guys seen it?
No. What is it?
The girl who from Cincinnati who's crying, she's on a wisdom teeth after her surgery. She's talking about how Joe Burrow can't beat the dang Browns. Joe Burrow's going to beat the Browns this week. Enough of this nonsense. I know he's like 0-5 against the Browns. Maybe it's 0-4. 0-4 against the Browns in his career. Enough. Joe Burrow, 80% completion rate last week. He knows this. They know what's happening. They know that they've never beaten the Browns. Now you got Deshaun Watson coming in. This is the perfect spot for the Bengals, who are full throttle. Everyone healthy, confident as heck. They're going to put an absolute nail in the coffin of the Browns here. You want to start with Joe Burrow at 7K. This guy's playing unbelievable football right now, and you want to go from there.
He's 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. He's 0-4 against the Browns. Make it make sense here. Bukes, who's your quarterback this week in DFS?
Yeah, real quick, too. The Browns easily could have lost that game, too. It wasn't for their defense scoring 3 times on Sunday. Jalen Hurts just going right up the ladder here at quarterback because I think there's a lot of pay down spots at the other positions, but 8,100 for him. We just saw him go against a team that was good against the run, and what did he do? He was an excellent passer last week. 380 passing yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 37.4 DraftKings fantasy points in that game, getting the same type of matchup this week going up against the Giants. This should be another big game for Jalen Hurts. He's been so consistent all throughout the season here. Looking at his game log here, at least 22 DraftKings fantasy points now in 4 straight games. This is a spot where you're going to pay up at quarterbacks. I think a lot of people are going to be paying down this week, so you might be getting some good ownership here on Jalen Hurts, who also wasn't really overly owned last week in that matchup against the Titans.
All right, let's talk running backs here. Jeff, I'm looking at Donta Foreman here going against the Seahawks, who allow the second most DraftKings points per game to running backs.
Yeah, Pierce's Seahawks they have a bit of issue there, just in the D-line. I think Foreman will be a fairly popular target, but this is a position I really don't mind paying up for and just eating some chalk with this week. I think Dalvin Cook at 7,300 is a player that's going to give you really good exposure to this game. That is a 53-point total. It's going to be very popular for DFS. And Cook will probably be popular, but it really feels like his salary here is just too low. It feels like it should be more in the 8K range. 20-plus carries each of the last 2 games, still involved as a receiver. And Detroit, what they what they still struggle with is just giving up some of those chunk plays to running backs, whether it's in the passing game or just in the rush. You know, 5th most fantasy points allowed to the opposing running backs position this year. They've been a little bit better, but I really feel like Cook is in a spot here where you're seeing his usage go up a little bit. It's a really good opponent, and at 7,300, it's kind of just a price thing as well. So that's the player from that game that, again, you know, everyone's going to have some ownership, but Cook is the player at 7,300 that I really just feel most comfortable, you know, eating the chalk with.
Steve, what do you think? You want to pay up here?
You can go and get Tony Pollard at 6,700 going against the putrid Houston Texans run defense. He continues to put up monster numbers, even if he's splitting the carries here with Zeke Elliott, which is still an atrocity in itself, but whatever. Even in the quote-unquote split last week, 12 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 24.6 DraftKings fantasy points against the Colts there. Against this Houston Texans team, they cannot stop the run. They have the most missed tackles in the league. They're not going to stop somebody like Tony Pollard, who has at least 24 DraftKings fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. Some of those games do even include when Zeke has been active here. He's priced as he's splitting the carries, but the production has been anything but that. So give me Tony Pollard at 6,700.
Yeah, he's going to eat against the NFL's last-ranked run defense. Pierce, what do we think? Who do you want to put in the running back position?
James Cook. Jeff can have Dalvin, the expensive Michelin star-rated chef. I'll take the fry cook. James, much cheaper. I know playing a Bill is a little risky because we never know where the volume's going to go, but they all have tremendous upside in this offense. And we know that the Bills don't necessarily like to use their running backs, but they're facing the Jets. Jets have a very strong defense, and they're not going to let the Bills play to their strength. They're going to force the Bills to use their running backs, very similar to what New England did against Buffalo. And James Cook responded, 14 carries for 60 yards, 6 catches for another 60 yards through the air. James Cook seemingly coming into his own. I know it's risky, but at this price, just an average game will get the job done. But as I mentioned before, there's always huge upside with these Bills players.
Bukes, we mentioned in our tease to this segment how much Justin Jefferson's going to cost you. So at wide receiver, is he worth paying up for this week? What's the move at this position?
Yeah, monster matchup for Jefferson, but that's a lot of money to be spending on even against the Lions here. I'm going down the board here, like I mentioned. Christian Kirk is kind of in no man's land when it comes to the salary, and an excellent matchup against a putrid secondary in the Tennessee Titans. Last week in a similar matchup against that Detroit Lions team, 6 receptions, 104 yards, 19.4 DraftKings fantasy points. He continues to garner an elite target share on this team. He's averaging 8.2 targets per game, and he leads the team in red zone targets with 16. We just saw this secondary get lit up last week. You know, obviously not the greatest game from Trevor Lawrence. I think we expected a little bit more, but this was a good game for him to continue on the role that he's been over the last 3 weeks or so. Christian Kirk has been his guy. You look at some of the guys that he's sandwiched in between in terms of salary. T. Higgins, Godwin, Lockett, and Evans. Kirk's probably not the guy that jumps off the page when you look at between those guys, but in this matchup, he should be. This should be a big week for Christian Kirk.
Jeff, you got to love that because you texted me 2 days ago that the Jags will beat Fraudesy.
Yeah, that's right. They're definitely going to beat Fraudesy. I like that as a bounce back spot. Kirk was on my short list here. I'm going to go cheaper, though. We went expensive and went with the chalk of running back. So I'm going to give out a couple players around 5K at wide receiver with, I think, a lot of upside this week. We'll start with George Pickens of the Steelers. At Baltimore's rush defense, I think it's going to force Pittsburgh to pass a little bit more in this game. Pickens coming off like 2 targets, whatever, though. I mean, Pittsburgh controlled that game on the ground from start to finish. You look at Baltimore, their secondary, they've had some really soft matchups of late, but when they've faced even mediocre pass offenses, you know, Zay Jones over 100 yards, Devonta Parker 150 yards, George Pickens better than both those guys on the outside. I think this is a very good bounce back spot for him. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones, if you're going to stack the Bengals, go with Peoples-Jones on the other side of that game. 14 yards per reception last week, caught all 3 of his targets from Deshaun Watson. I think Peoples-Jones could be the biggest beneficiary with Watson back there. He's a speedy outside receiver. We did see Marquez Valdes-Scantling get behind that Bengals defense a couple times last week. So Peoples-Jones, a good comeback target if you're stacking Bengals.
Pierce, who's your top wide receiver?
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Minnesota, 24th in pass DVOA. They've allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. If you take out 2 of Detroit's dud performances against very good defenses, Detroit is the highest scoring offense in the league. Oh, by the way, they also have the defense that allows the most points per game. This is a fantasy dream playing Detroit every single week. They score a bunch. They're constantly in these track meets. Minnesota is in track meets every single week. They can't close out opponents. I expect a lot of points. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is ranked number 2 at PFF. Now, there is concern that, well, Patrick Peterson's having a great season in Minnesota, but Peterson doesn't go into the slot. Amon-Ra St. Brown does. I expect a double-digit receiving day, probably over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown.
All right, good stuff, guys. That's it for football talk because we got to talk about the match. Okay, Tiger and Rory take on Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. So how do you bet an event like this? Jeff Art going to stick around. Jason Sobel going to join us, and we'll talk about it right after this break.
All right, it's time to turn our attention to golf. Sorry.
All right, DK contributor Jeff Orrick, the Action Network's Jason Sobel, they are here to break down the match, aka give us your favorite bets from this weekend's exhibition. So, first off, this is not your typical golf event, right? How do you approach betting something like the match, Jason?
So you're right, Jesse. 12 holes under the lights and sort of prime time down here in Florida. They'll be able to take carts. I know Tiger wasn't healthy enough to play last week at the Hero World Challenge, but he's healthy enough to ride around in a cart. So I look at it as what it is, which is basically a toss-up. And if I'm going to play a toss-up, I'm probably taking the plus money. Hint, hint, as to where I'm going with this one.
Oh.
Yeah, Jeff, how do you approach this?
Yeah, the same kind of way. I mean, it's a 12-hole exhibition. I think that's the biggest thing, right? I mean, it's just high variance. I mean, we've got 12 holes to figure this thing out. I mean, legitimately, it's going to come down to a couple different shots. So, all these players are elite. You can factor in the Tiger injury issue all the want, but they're riding carts. It's not like they're playing Torrey Pines with 10-inch rough or something. This is like basically a no rough golf course. So down there in Pelican Bay, I think you exactly what Jason said. You look to the odds. Maybe you can get. I think that with the injury issue coming up as well, obviously has affected the odds. So you take the plus money where you can.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden you've got Spieth and Thomas who are minus 130 over on the DK Sportsbook. But Jason, when I ask you who you're backing in this one, I'm a listener. I heard you just say hint, hint for the plus money. Plus 105, Tiger McIlroy.
So I've been listening myself, Emerson. What I hear from Tiger is two things. First of all, yeah, I've been shooting 63 and 64 at home when I'm riding around in a cart. Secondly, I can't walk, but I can hit any shot you want. Tiger is actually very optimistic about his game. I had Todd Lewis from Golf Channel on the radio show yesterday, and he did a one-on-one exclusive with Tiger last week in the Bahamas and said that he took away some optimism from Tiger. He thinks that Tiger is not necessarily going to say, hey, I'm going to win another major next year. Here it comes. But just that Tiger's very happy with where his golf game is. It's just a matter of not being physically able to go walk 4 rounds on a golf course right now. But if you just put him in spots and let him hit golf shots, he can do that. And I know he can do that when he's riding around in a cart this week. And oh, by the way, in case he needs them at all, he's got that Rory McIlroy fella sitting next to him. He might be able to help as well.
Yeah, which side you back in here, Ulrich?
Look, I mean, it's plantar fascia. This could have happened to anyone. Exactly. Let's not read too much into it. I'm even going to go deeper than this.
Ooh.
Who's been the face of the PGA over the last 6 months when they're dealing with this upcoming golf tour?
Rory.
It's Tiger Woods. Who's all the guys that have been backing him? Spieth, Thomas, McIlroy. Think these guys want to go out and embarrass Tiger Woods by beating him? Rory's going to be at 150%. Thomas and Spieth, I think they're just going to be there for fun. So, yeah, I'm reading into it. I'm buying in onto all the narratives here. I don't think these guys are going to let Tiger lose. So give me Tiger Woods. Give me the plus money. Jason's right. he sounds more confident than I think people realize. I think people just buying it a little bit too much to the fact that he missed one event, the hero, where he probably just wanted to make sure he was going to be okay for this one, because this is the one where he's kind of contractually obligated to be the star of the show. So, give me Tiger side at plus money.
All right, so we have some golf specials on the DK Sportsbook, just like giving odds on whether or not certain players will win a major. So we have Rory at plus 200, Thomas at plus 350, Spieth at plus 600, Tiger at plus 3,500. Like, are those days behind him? Does he maybe have one left in him? Or, like, how do you feel about all these guys' odds? What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I'm probably going to pass on Tiger for now. Look, I never doubt him. I'm not saying it can't happen at some point, but I'm not putting my money on Tiger. If the odds were the same, if I'm just picking one player to win a major championship, I'm taking Rory McIlroy to get off that 9-year schneid that he's been on. But at 3 times the money, Jordan Spieth at 6-1 feels a lot more. Feels like there's a lot more value there than Rory McIlroy at just 2-1. So I will put my money on Jordan Spieth out of those 4 to win a major in 2023.
Jeff, which of those numbers would you be most comfortable betting?
So, look, I mean, the best thing you can do, if you're interested in Tiger Woods, there's 2 places he can still win a major. Potentially. He's probably not going to, but potentially would be Augusta and the Open. So just wait until then. You'll still get good odds. And I think that kind of goes for most of these guys. Like, you mainly want to be just looking into the markets, like the futures for the Masters, or specifically if you're interested in Spieth or Thomas. But since we're talking about the golf specials and they're up there, if I was picking one player out of there right now, it would be Tony Finau at plus 800. Look at what this guy has done. He's absolutely dominated the PGA Tour over the last year and a half. He's got bigger odds than Spieth. I'd absolutely take Finau over Spieth, especially at plus 800 right now.
All right, guys.
Jeff, I didn't know that was an option.
No, it's not.
It's
just
not.
never
It
pays
on
attention.
cheated, but-
I made it one, okay?
No.
All right.
Hey, Rory to get plus 900 favorite right now for the Masters. Get that elusive green jacket. So.
Not going to happen.
Yep. No, it's definitely not. All right, that's a show, everybody. Good stuff, Jay. Good stuff, Jeff. Appreciate it. We're back here in studio tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We will see you then.